I think I forget to enjoy life sometimes. And that's what we're here to do is experience life. And it almost breaks my heart when I say that I forget to enjoy life because I've always prided myself as being someone who is full of life and vivacious and loves new experiences and chases like life and wants to eat it up. And I think that lately I've kind of forgotten that. You're listening to Say It Anyway, the podcast for people who know they're meant for more and are done holding back. I'm Maggie Marcus, and here we talk courage, self-trust, and what it takes to lead yourself, even when it scares the hell out of you. I used to think that I wasn't afraid of dying, but then I noticed how much I'm always chasing time. Like, never feeling like there is enough time. Always feeling like the to do list is growing longer and nothing is actually completing, and feeling this pressure and this hustle that there's just like never enough time in the day and time is going so fast and I should be, further along or whatever. And there's always just like this undercurrent of urgency and feeling behind in my life. And I've just, I started wondering like, what is this actually all about? Because it's not really about the to-do list. It feels like it's something deeper. And once I named that, it kind of shifted my understanding. It kind of shifted my perspective. I've just been in this like season of my life where things just feel crazy, and it's funny because I feel like I've been in a season of my life that's been crazy for like the last 5 years. and but right now especially, I think especially in this like the last couple months and the next few months, going into the next few months, I've got, I'm planning a wedding. I work full time. I'm in a speaking course and I'm working on marketing myself and getting gigs and booking things. And then on top of that, wanting to be consistent and create content through social media and my podcasting every single week, and then editing all the content for that. And then also trying to balance that with trying to stay healthy and fit and go to the gym, get enough sleep, still be a good daughter and talk to my parents and a good sister and a good friend and a good partner and be present. And now be a stepmom part-time to Amelia. And I've been really feeling that lately, and all of that with also like these bigger questions of like, am I going to freaking make it? And am I going to actually accomplish all these goals that I want to achieve? Like, am I actually going to be good enough to do this? So all this other pressure that I put on myself. And then not to mention laundry and oil change and do your taxes. And so sometimes it feels like I'm drowning a little bit. And then if you're like me, you get it, right? Like, you're just like, I just need to get through this season and then maybe I can slow down. Or like, why does it feel like time is running out? Like the months just fly by, the weeks fly by. And it feels like you're working so hard, but it doesn't always feel like it's really moving or creating the results that you want. And then you feel guilty for resting because, there's always so much to do. And then, like I said, there's that deep down fear. Like, what if I'm doing all of this and I don't actually make it? And so I contend with that. And then I try to be in gratitude because these are all wonderful things that are going on in my life. And I'm so grateful. And so I'm like, okay, like, I get to do all this stuff. And And I tell myself that, and I work to embody that. But my body still feels like the underlying stress. Like I feel it there, I'm tired. I guess I can feel it kind of in my gut, in my hormones. Um, and so this is just something that I've been thinking about a lot. And that's the other thing, like making time for introspection and reflection. Like I need that time. I need that spaciousness to be able to reflect and think and process in order to be able to create and feel fulfilled in terms of like being connected to myself and bringing value. But anyway, all that to say, I'm bringing it up just to talk about, because I know I'm not alone in that. I'm not special. I know there's so many people that have so many other things going on in their life, and it can be a lot to manage. No one said this was easy. But what I've really come to realize is that there's this fear, at least for me, this fear of wasting time. And this fear of wasting time, I've come to recognize, is really this fear of death, of dying, of never really truly living. When you're always racing, think about this, when you're always racing, always behind, what are you actually afraid of? Running out of time before you've truly fully lived and got to experience all the things that you want to experience. There's actually a lot of psychology around this. There's a book called The Denial of Death. Yeah, The Denial of Death, Ernest Becker. And he talks about this, where that the fear of death is at the root of most of the fears that we have. That there's this paradox that as humans, we kind of have this God complex because we are like the highest, the top of the food chain. And there's this paradox with the fact that we kind of do have this godlike complex, yet we are aware enough to know that we are mortal and that we are going to die, and so there's this denial aspect where we become so, with that awareness, we become so scared of death that we latch on to needing to feel important and significant, and we want to be successful, and we seek significance to kind of overcome this physical weakness that we are mortal, that we will die. And it's almost like we want to pretend that we're not. And it's weird. It's kind of like to me, it's kind of like this ultimate defense mechanism that we have to deny our limitations as humans. There's also a lot of research around regret and regret theory. I remember reading a book about this, which I find so interesting. It's like a whole nother topic, but it weaves into this because this anxiety around death, or in my perspective, this fear of wasting time, not never having enough of it, that fear of death, that is the most intense in people who don't feel like they're living a fulfilling life. And that is why the hustle feels so urgent, because we've got to make our life matter and give it meaning and feel fulfilled before we die, before we run out of time. So the urgency is your deeper self asking, am I really living? Will I have truly lived? I think understanding the deeper fear really helps us change our relationship to it. Like and this goes for all your fears, when you can see them for what they really are and what's really driving them, I genuinely think that awareness can help soften something in you. Because it helps you realize like, oh, this is what it's really about. Like with this fear that I have of wasting time and and pushing myself and hustling and trying to get all these things done. What it's really about is like, oh, I'm just afraid of not really living. and living the full potential of myself. And not to say that that's not valid or important, or that all the things that I'm doing, like, they are important to me. But if I can actually see that fear and see it for what it is, now I have some choice around my behavior. Like, again, that doesn't mean that maybe I have less to do, but it does feel like it takes some of the pressure off, and I can soften a little bit and realize like what's really running the show and choose from that place. Like, to say like, okay, I'm not running from something. I'm not running from this fear. I'm seeing it for what it is. And from there, I'm going to choose what actually matters. Like, because here's the thing. If I see it for what it is, especially this fear, that right now I am chasing future time. And by doing that, I'm missing out on current time. Like, the time that I'm chasing that I want to have is available to me right now. And if I can see that that fear is driving that, then maybe I can change how I treat current time. That maybe I can choose to slow down and recognize what really matters to me, because life is now. Life is right now. It's happening. And when I'm so busy chasing future time, I am missing out on life. I forget to enjoy my life, because this time right now, it's what I have. And I don't want to miss out on that. So maybe that allows us to stop fighting, or it kind of shifts the energy that we're coming from, and just get real about what actually matters to us. That fear around wasting time and the anxiety around it, what if we shifted that and found meaning in what we were doing, and growth and lessons in where we're currently spending our time, how we're currently spending our time? It's not about, I don't know if it's about doing less, but I think it's in finding meaning in what we're doing. Maybe it is about doing less. I don't know. Like, that's for you to decide for yourself based on your values and what's important to you and how you want to spend your time. But I think we can start to really ask ourselves, why am I doing this? What does it mean to me? Like, is this adding to my life, or am I trying to prove something? And that could be a whole nother conversation. Maybe that's next week's podcast, because I think sometimes that we are hustling and chasing time because we need to prove our worth and prove that we are significant and important. And there are things that we're doing that we don't even really truly desire to do, but we're doing because we're afraid that what it'll mean if we don't. And so the behavior is fear-driven rather than desire-driven. But anyway, I'll save that for another day. Where was I? Yeah, I think, like, just going back to what I was saying, that maybe what we can do is in recognizing this fear, maybe we can appreciate the season that we're in. Like, instead of measuring the results based on what we're doing and how much of it we're doing, we can start to ask, who am I becoming? I love this question because, at the end of the day, I started doing this. I started asking myself, I do look at what did I do that day, because it's good feedback. Like, what did I get done? I look at my to-do list because it carries on. I look at what do I need to do the next day. But what I really started to also ask myself, which I think is an even more important question, is who was I being that allowed me to get those things done? Like, instead of just saying like, oh, I got X, Y, and Z done, like instead of saying like, oh, I wrote that post, I made that call, I did the laundry, I can be like, who was I being when I was, what that allowed me to get that done? You know, I was being in integrity, I was being risky, I was being determined. Like, who was I being? Because to me, that's more important, because the being feeds the doing. Whoever you're being will always feed what you do. You can't have the action without who you're being. It's be, do, have. Be the quality that allows you to do the thing in order for you to have the results that you want to have. So I started asking myself, who am I being? And then if things weren't getting done, that's good feedback too. Who was I being that didn't allow me to get that done? Maybe I was being a bit scared. Maybe I was being undisciplined. Maybe I was being inconsistent. And that's good feedback, not to judge myself, but to be like, hey, what's working and what's not working? And who am I becoming through all of this? Sometimes we're so focused on the end of like who we're going to be that we forget to consider who we're becoming in the process, because that's the most beautiful part, and that's the most interesting part, at least to me. And I think, and just by like slowing down to consider that can really shift your overwhelm and your fear into something meaningful. And that again can allow you to soften. And softening is so beautiful, because that's where you find presence and peace. It's always, not always, but so much of the time, that's my goal, is to soften tension, to soften fear, to soften my reactions. And, you know, presence, like, that's really important. That's the practice. As we become more present and really enjoy our life and find meaning in what we're doing in the now, that's what creates the life that we're living, the reality that we're living in. Because the reality can be like, I'm hustling, grinding, I need to get to the future me and get to future goal. And then the reality that you live in is like, it's never good enough. It's never enough. You're always behind. You're never there. Life is always out of reach. Happiness is always out of reach. Fulfillment is always out of reach, because you're never quite there. But if we can slow down, and gosh, let me tell you, this is part of the practice. I'm not just preaching this. Truly, I'm standing in the trenches with you when I say this, that like really learning to enjoy my life as it's happening in the now. It's like, this is the moments that I'm going to look back at, that future me is going to thank me for. That future me, like, this is my life. It's in the making. And I don't want to miss it. And I have always been so future focused that I'm so guilty of missing my life in the moments, in sacrificing time, in relationships, and experiences, because I've got to like get shit done. And I'm really truly starting to see that in a recent year, and check that and remind myself like what's really truly important to me. You know, you think about like older people, and that's what I love about older people, is that they just experience time really differently, because now they're just focusing on like what's meaningful right now. Like as they get towards, you know, the end of their life, they're just like, what matters now, today, not tomorrow. And here's why I think maybe like being in touch with our mortality and thinking about some of that stuff, not in a morbid way, but in a healthy way, is important. because it allows us to have that perspective. Like, yeah, I need to enjoy my life now. It reminds us of what's really important. Like I said, we're so busy chasing future time, we miss out on current time. And I think I just wanted to say all this because I wanted to remind you and encourage you that your life matters. And as much as your future goals matter, like 100%, I am all for chasing your goals, being disciplined, like going after what you really want, living a big life, a life with minimal regret, 1,000%. And can you do that and also still stay rooted and grounded in the present and enjoy the time that you have now and this process in which you are creating and evolving? Like, this time is just as important as that future time that you've credited with so much importance. Maybe you've credited it with even more importance than the time you have now. You're like, I just got to get through this to get to there. And that's where I want to challenge you and myself, that this time is just as important. Maybe sometimes even more important. Like, whatever time you're in right now is the most important time. There is no other time. The past is done. The future is still yet to come. Like, in granted, you don't know if it's coming. So live your life now. Be in the now. And I say this to you as much as I'm saying it to myself. How can you really honor the way you're spending your time right now? This season in your life, this week, this day, like, how can you find the meaning in it in a way that really serves you, that allows you to feel appreciative and enjoy this part and see what it's doing for you and who you're becoming through it? I think I love that because as I say that, I'm thinking about it for myself. And as tough as this season feels right now, I just got emotional. I know, like, who I'm becoming through this is so beautiful. Like, that is, it might be tough, but like, I am building resilience and my courage muscle and my trust in myself and self-belief. And when I remember that and I give this time that meaning, some of the overwhelm, some of the pressure just alleviates a little bit. And again, that doesn't mean that the list gets shorter. It just changes my relationship with it. And I think as I say that out loud, that is what's really important, is changing our relationship with it. Our relationship with the fear, our relationship with time. That can really change our relationship with ourselves when we check that. And I just love that. And that's where I think I want to end this, is just to say, like, how can you do that for yourself? How can you really look at where you're spending your time and honor that time and honor yourself and who you're becoming here in this moment? There's no future you without current you. So give current you some love, some grace. Let current you enjoy and experience life now. Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, spread the love. Maybe share it with a friend or drop a comment. I'd love to know what landed for you. And remember, your voice matters. Whatever you're holding back, say it anyway.